I found out on Facebook that my husband got married again. What I did next shocked everyone. The wedding photos stared back at me from my laptop screen, perfect and pristine. White roses, a stunning beach sunset, and there was my husband, Michael, in a tuxedo I'd never seen before, kissing a blonde woman in a designer wedding dress. The caption read, "Finally married the love of my life, the beginning of forever." My coffee mug slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor. This had to be some kind of sick joke, a terrible Photoshop prank. But there it was, posted on the Facebook page of someone named Brittany Coleman Mitchell. Mitchell. My last name. Our last name. My hands shook as I clicked through her photos. There were dozens from the wedding. Michael's parents were there, smiling proudly. His brother Jason was the best man. The same brother who told me last month that he couldn't make it to our anniversary dinner because he was stuck in Denver for work. I grabbed my phone and called Michael. He was supposed to be at a medical conference in Miami. He'd left 3 days ago, kissing me goodbye at the door of our house in Charlotte, telling me he'd miss me. "Hey, honey." His voice was warm, relaxed. "How's your Saturday going?" I couldn't speak. My throat had closed up completely. "Sarah? You there? Must be a bad connection. I'm actually about to head into a presentation. Can I call you back later?" "I saw the photos," I whispered. Silence. Then I heard him breathing faster. "What photos?" he asked, but his voice had changed. The warmth was gone. "Your wedding photos, Michael. Your wedding to Brittany." The line went dead. I sat on my kitchen floor for an hour, surrounded by coffee and broken ceramic, just staring at my phone. Michael didn't call back. When I finally stood up, my legs were numb and my mind was racing. We'd been married for 8 years. 8 years of what I thought was a good marriage. Sure, he traveled a lot for his job as a pharmaceutical sales director, but I trusted him. I was an idiot. I called my best friend, Rachel. "Can you come over?" I said when she answered. "Something's happened." "Sarah, what's wrong?" "You sound..." Michael got married to someone else, while married to me. What? That doesn't make any sense. I'm on my way. While waiting for Rachel, I did what any woman in my position would do. I turned into an FBI agent. I scoured Brittany's Facebook page, her Instagram, her LinkedIn. She was 29, 6 years younger than me, a yoga instructor and wellness influencer living in Miami. Her posts went back 2 years, and as I scrolled deeper, my heart sank further. There was Michael at her birthday party a year ago, when he'd supposedly been at a conference in Boston. There they were at a concert 4 months ago, during his golf weekend with clients. Christmas photos from last year showed them at a ski resort. He'd told me he couldn't take time off during the holidays because of year-end sales reports. Rachel arrived with wine and her laptop. "We're going to document everything," she said, her lawyer instincts kicking in. Every photo, every post, every piece of evidence. How did he even manage to get married while already being married? "Florida," I said, the pieces clicking together. He must have used fake documents or I don't even know. But bigamy is a felony. "You're damn right it is," Rachel said, opening her laptop. "And we're going to bury him." The next 3 days were a blur of discoveries, each one worse than the last. Rachel had connections: a private investigator, a forensic accountant, and a family lawyer who specialized in complex marital situations. The private investigator, a woman named Monica, who looked like she could have been a suburban mom, but had eyes like a hawk, sat across from me in Rachel's office. "Your husband has been living a complete double life," she said, sliding a folder across the table. "He has an apartment in Miami under a slightly different name, Mitchell Stevens instead of Michael Stevens. He's been using a fake social security number for his dealings there." I opened the folder. Lease agreements, utility bills, even a gym membership, all in Miami, all under this alternate identity. "How long?" I asked. 3 years at least. That's as far back as I could trace in the time we've had. The forensic accountant's report was even worse. Michael had been slowly siphoning money from our joint accounts into offshore accounts. Small amounts, nothing I'd notice. 500 here, 1,000 there, hidden in business expenses and ATM withdrawals. Over 3 years, he'd stolen nearly $200,000 of our money. My money, since half of it came from my salary as a marketing director. "He's been planning this," Rachel said. "This isn't just an affair that got out of hand. This is calculated." I thought about all those nights he'd worked late, all those conferences, all those client dinners. I thought about how he'd been encouraging me to focus on my career, to wait a little longer before having kids. "Just a few more years, Sarah. Let's enjoy being us first." Now I knew why. Michael finally came home 5 days after I'd found out. I heard his key in the lock at 11 p.m. Rachel was with me, along with Monica and a police officer she'd arranged to be present. He walked in looking tired, saw us all sitting in the living room, and froze. "Sarah, I can explain." "No," I said, standing up. "You can listen. Officer Martinez here has some questions about identity fraud and bigamy. Monica has documented your entire fake life in Miami, and Rachel has drawn up divorce papers that you're going to sign." His face went white. "You don't understand. Brittany, she thinks she's legally married to you. She's a victim too, Michael. Though not as much as me, considering I've been financing your double life for 3 years. I was going to tell you. When? After you'd cleaned out all our accounts? After you'd completely disappeared into your fake life?" Officer Martinez stood up. "Mr. Stevens, I need you to come with me for questioning regarding potential charges of bigamy, identity fraud, and embezzlement." Michael looked at me, and for the first time in 8 years, I saw the real him. Not the charming husband who brought me flowers every Friday. Not the devoted partner who helped me through my mother's cancer diagnosis. I saw a stranger who'd been playing a role, and playing it well. "I never meant for it to go this far," he said. "Yes, you did," I replied. "Every fake conference, every lie, every dollar you stole, you meant all of it. You just never meant to get caught." The next morning, while Michael was being questioned by police, I did something that would change everything. I called Brittany. She answered on the 3rd ring, her voice bright and cheerful. "Hello, Brittany. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm Michael's wife, his legal wife. We need to talk." The silence stretched out for so long I thought she'd hung up. Then I heard her crying. "I knew something was wrong," she whispered. "I knew it." But he always had an explanation. We met the next day at a coffee shop halfway between Charlotte and Miami. She was beautiful in that effortless way that usually made me feel insecure. But when I saw her face, puffy from crying, confused and hurt, all I felt was sympathy. "He told me you were his ex-wife," she said, clutching her coffee cup. "That the divorce was messy and you were unstable. That's why he couldn't talk about you." I showed her our wedding photos, our joint tax returns, the mortgage documents for our house. With every piece of evidence, she seemed to shrink a little more. "The wedding," she said suddenly. "My parents paid for everything. $30,000. Oh my God, my father is going to kill him." "No," I said, pulling out the forensic accountant's report. "We're going to do something better. We're going to take everything he has." Brittany looked at me, and I saw something shift in her eyes. The hurt was still there, but now there was anger too. "Good. What did you have in mind?" Brittany and I became unlikely allies. She had access to his Miami life. I had access to his Charlotte life. And together we had enough information to destroy the fictional world Michael had built. She discovered that he'd been seeing a third woman in Atlanta. Not seriously enough to marry, but enough to have keys to her apartment. He'd told her he was divorced with no kids, working as a traveling consultant. The web of lies was so complex, I wondered how he kept it all straight. We contacted the Atlanta woman, Denise, together. She took it better than either of us had. "I knew he was too good to be true," she said over video call. "I actually ran a background check on him last month, but everything came back clean." "Different name," I explained. "He's been very careful." "Not careful enough," Denise said. "I'm a forensic analyst for the FBI. I was about to dig deeper, but you've saved me the trouble and given me a federal case to pursue." With Denise's FBI connections, the case against Michael escalated quickly. The identity fraud alone was serious, but combined with bigamy, embezzlement, and wire fraud, he was looking at significant jail time. Rachel, who'd become our unofficial legal coordinator, set up a meeting with all three of us and the federal prosecutor. "This is one of the most elaborate cases of marital fraud I've seen," the prosecutor said. "With your cooperation, we can ensure he faces the full consequences." But legal justice wasn't enough. We wanted poetic justice too. It was Brittany's idea to contact his employer. Michael had been using his business trips as cover for his double life, charging personal expenses to his company card and claiming they were client entertainment. His boss was not pleased. "We've been noticing discrepancies for months," his boss told me over the phone. But Michael always had documentation. Now we know why it never quite added up. He was fired within a week, losing his 6-figure salary, his company car, and his executive health insurance. I froze all our joint accounts before he could access them. The house was in my name, a decision Michael had suggested for tax purposes, but which now worked in my favor. His precious BMW, which he'd bought with his bonus, actually our money, was repossessed when I proved the funds were obtained through fraud. Brittany annulled their marriage and sued him for the wedding costs and emotional damages. Her father, a successful real estate developer, hired the best lawyers in Miami to ensure Michael paid every penny back. Denise used her FBI connections to ensure his fake identity was flagged in every system. He'd never be able to disappear and start over again. Michael's carefully constructed house of cards collapsed spectacularly. Within a month of my Facebook discovery, he'd lost everything. His jobs, Yes, he'd been working a side consulting gig in Miami under his fake name. His homes, his cars, his reputation, and his freedom. The federal charges were serious enough that he couldn't make bail. I went to see him once in jail, partly for closure, and partly because I needed to look him in the eye one last time. He looked smaller in the orange jumpsuit, older. The confident salesman swagger was gone. Why? I asked. It was the only question that mattered. He was quiet for a long time. Because I could, he finally said. It started as a game, seeing if I could pull it off. Then it became addictive. The thrill of being different people, of creating these separate worlds. I never thought about how it would end. You never thought you'd get caught? No, he admitted. I thought I was smarter than everyone else. You weren't even smart enough to use a different last name on Facebook. He actually laughed at that. A bitter sound. Brittany insisted. She wanted to be Mrs. Mitchell so badly. I thought privacy settings would be enough. Thank God for your arrogance, I said, standing up to leave. Sarah, wait. I did love you. In my own way, I turned back. No, Michael. You loved the idea of fooling me. There's a difference. The divorce was finalized quickly, given the circumstances. I got the house, my car, all the remaining assets, and a judgment for the money he'd stolen. I'd probably never see all of it, but it was the principle that mattered. Brittany and I became friends. Trauma bonds are strange, but strong. She moved to Charlotte to start fresh, opening a yoga studio with the money she got from the emotional damages settlement. I became her first student. It's weird, isn't it? She said one day after class. How someone so destructive could actually bring something good into our lives. She was right. Without Michael's betrayal, I never would have discovered my own strength. I never would have met Monica, who became a regular at our girls' nights. I never would have helped Denise with her new federal task force focusing on identity fraud in marriages. Rachel helped me set up financial safeguards I should have had from the beginning. Separate accounts, credit monitoring, background checks on anyone I dated in the future. Trust, but verify, she said. It's not paranoid, it's smart. 6 months after that horrible morning with the Facebook photo, I was in a better place than I'd been even during my marriage. I'd gotten a promotion at work, partly because I was no longer scheduling my life around Michael's supposed travel. I'd rekindled friendships I'd neglected. I'd started therapy to understand how I'd missed so many red flags. You didn't miss them, my therapist said. You explained them away because you trusted your husband. That's what normal people do. The problem wasn't your trust. It was his betrayal of it. Michael was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison for identity fraud, with additional time for bigamy and embezzlement. He'd serve at least 3 years before being eligible for parole. The judge, a woman who'd clearly seen too many cases of men underestimating consequences, was particularly harsh in her sentencing statement. Mr. Stevens, you didn't just betray your wife's trust. You committed calculated fraud against multiple women, their families, and your employer. You created an elaborate criminal enterprise based on emotional manipulation. This court has no sympathy for someone who weaponized love for financial gain. I was there for the sentencing, sitting between Brittany and Denise. When they led Michael away in handcuffs, he looked back at us. I thought he might say something, apologize maybe, but he just shook his head and turned away. Good riddance, Brittany whispered. The media picked up the story. Triangle businessman leads triple life was the headline in the Charlotte Observer. Michael's parents called me, mortified and apologetic. They'd known about Brittany, but thought I was the ex-wife who wouldn't let go. His mother cried on the phone, apologizing over and over. "We raised him better than this," she sobbed. "I don't understand how he became this person. I didn't have answers for her." Some people are just skilled at deception, at compartmentalizing their lives until they believe their own lies. A year after discovering Michael's betrayal, I sat in my backyard with Rachel, Brittany, Monica, and Denise. We called ourselves the Fraud Squad now, meeting monthly for wine and updates on our lives. Brittany's yoga studio was thriving. She'd started dating a carpenter who couldn't tell a lie if his life depended on it. He actually told me my new haircut made me look like a poodle. She laughed. "I'll take brutal honesty over smooth lies any day." Denise had received a commendation for her work on the new identity fraud task force. 3 other cases similar to ours had been uncovered and prosecuted. Monica had started a new service doing background checks specifically for people entering serious relationships. Business was unfortunately booming. Rachel had taken on 2 more cases of bigamy and fraud, inspired by our success. "You started a movement," she told me. As for me, I'd started dating again. Nothing serious yet, but I was learning to trust my instincts again. I'd also written a book about the experience. The Facebook Wife, a true story of digital age bigamy. The advance was enough to pay off the mortgage on the house. "You know what the best revenge is?" Brittany asked, raising her wine glass. "Living well?" Monica suggested. "No," Brittany said. "It's living authentically." Michael spent so much energy maintaining his fake lives that he never actually lived a real one. We're out here living our truth, while he's sitting in a cell with nothing but his lies for company. We clinked glasses as the sun set over Charlotte. She was right. Michael had tried to destroy us with his deception, but instead, he'd freed us. He'd shown us our own strength, brought us together, and ultimately, given us victory. His prison sentence would end eventually, but he'd never get back what he'd lost. Meanwhile, we'd gained more than he'd ever taken from us. We'd gained each other, we'd gained justice, and most importantly, we'd gained the knowledge that we were stronger than any betrayal. As I looked around at these incredible women who'd become my chosen family, I realized something. Finding that Facebook photo was the worst moment of my life, but it led to the best chapter of it. Michael thought he was playing all of us. In the end, we played him better, and we won everything. Author's note: while this story is fiction, identity fraud and bigamy are real crimes that affect thousands of people each year. If you suspect you're a victim of marital fraud or identity theft, contact local law enforcement and seek legal counsel immediately. Thank you so much for listening. Please kindly like, subscribe, and leave us a comment. It will mean the world to us. We will be back with another super amazing story. Bye for now.